This is a view of the chopper overhead. There is a blue tarp covering, allegedly, a missing person's body, and looks like some brush in the woods. She has been missing for a little bit, and this is the outcome, allegedly. Not confirmed, but they are saying this, and there was a presser. This could be disturbing to some. Warning. Philadelphia. Hey, Sally, welcome to the chat. Oh, really? Yeah, this is about the missing Cassandra in Philadelphia. Been missing since the 4th of October. Hey, Rubber, welcome in. Thanks for stopping by. You're welcome. I'm just listening right now to the briefing from the chief, uh, which he just did about 20 minutes ago. The family have been notified, but they will not confirm if it is Cassandra or because the coroner has to do that. And until then, it's not confirmed. But it is probably likely to be her, though. Um, it's heartbreaking when you do find remains of a missing person. But the thing is, it's better to find their remains than not. It's not the outcome anybody wants, but we have an outcome. They say that the remains have been there for some time, but they're not going to say exactly how long. But this young lady has been missing since the 4th of October. they do have somebody in custody, and apparently he turned himself in. But there may be more involved. And they do say keep the tips coming in. Yeah, they had a tip late last night, and the tip led to this area, the back of the school, near a school. It's a, yeah, you could just see it's a wooden area, and it was a shallow grave. Um, so whoever called that tip in, they're going to be talked to, right? I know you can be anonymous when you call in a tip. You can be anonymous. And when that happens, you really got to stick to that because people want trust. No one to, call in a tip again anonymously, right? Oh my God. Dog's barking. Woof woof. So when people do, as I was saying, call in tips anonymously. Maybe that person wasn't. Oh, people are walking by the window. Yeah. So, like I said, you can't break them promises that you will remain anonymous, right? That's what I'm talking about. Trying to get it in before you box again. Drive me crazy. Got somebody cutting the grass outside too. And I think they're chopping down a tree or something. If you're just coming in, this is remains of a body has been found under that blue tarp. So if you don't like this kind of thing, it's a warning. We know that there is a body under there. It has been in a very shallow grave. Kada Scott has been missing since the 4th of October 2025. I mean, not that long ago. Uh, and they know it's been there for a while. It's a couple of weeks, I guess, a couple of weeks. Not that long, but long enough. So we're just going to wait for the coroner to release, to the police and everybody and the family to confirm that it is Kada Scott, the missing young lady. If you are deceased, you're missing, you're kidnapped, apparently kidnapped, Um, if this is the outcome, I'd rather them find the remains than never knowing. I mean, if it's going to be the outcome, at least she can come home and put to rest, a decent burial, and family will know exactly where she is. There's lots of families out there that don't know where their loved ones are, missing people, presumed deceased, but you could never know until you find remains for sure. Surely, I don't know who comes around this area, what they do, or anything like that, but surely there's a smell with death, okay? Very distinct smell with death. So this is just the chopper flying by. I assume there's reporters there as well, being kept away, distance away. But this is a developing story. Got an itchy ear. I mean, they did do a press conference yesterday. They did. And when they did that press conference, I think that might have encouraged the person to call in a tip, because that is what it's about. Tips, please. Any tip, any information, no matter how small. You might think it's nothing, but to the police, it's a piece of the puzzle. Now, the person that's in custody, Keon Kings, he has prior kidnapping charges. He has a prior case. So, the hell's wrong with him? So at least he's in custody right now. So this is it, guys. This is about all you can see. Let's just skip it along here. There's nothing more to see other than, the coroner's there. There's a fire. What the hell? Got a fire going. Somebody's house is on fire. Guess what do they do? Skip. So that's the end of that. That was just a little bit of breaking news. Let's go to the police did speak out just a little while ago. Let's hear what he's got to say. He doesn't want to say too much.
Any tips, and the public has been fantastic in providing tips and information, and we greatly appreciate that. But based on a tip that came in last night through the night, investigators began the process of following up on that tip this morning, starting around 10 o'clock this morning, following up on that tip. And the tip was very specific that led us back to this location here today. But you all know we were out here earlier in the week doing a little bit of a search. And so based on the investigative information, based on the
We
investigation
did
and
a
what they
little
were
bit of a
following up on
search
that
last
tip
week,
today, led us back to this
but didn't
area
find nothing.
behind
Do you
the
think she
school,
could have been moved?
where it's a wooded area. I don't know if any of you have been back there, but it's a wooded area that goes beyond the school. And so we begin to go back into that area where we will locate a shallow grave after being able to remove some of the debris back there, able to locate the body of a human being. All indications at this point is that it's a female. We are not going to confirm at this point that it is Miss Kada Scott, because that has to be done by the medical examiner's office. But we have been in communication with her family as to this process and the fact that we have recovered a human being. And so at this point,
I
there's
think the
still a
police
lot
know
of work
if
to be
it's her
done.
or not for sure.
I'll be very
They
candid that we
probably
can't
do know.
answer but so many questions. We're not going to get into the investigation at this point because we want to make sure that all of the pieces to this are done correctly and that we don't put out information ahead of time, because we want the people and the person that we have in custody and anybody else that may be involved in this, we want them held accountable to the highest degree of the law for what they have done. And so I just want that to be clear as to why we will not get into specific details. And so that's where we're at this point. Still a lot of work, but I must say a lot of work has been done around this case. As you know, we've been searching, have done multiple searches. We shut down the police academy. That was a decision made by myself and Commissioner Bethel to shut down the police academy over a week ago, where we brought out the entire group of recruits to comb through this area. Again, so I know, listen, no one is happy that this is the ending, and completely understand that this is a lot on our investigators, a lot on all of us, because again, we all have family members, and this could have been any one of our family members, could be anybody's family member, and that's understood, and that's the reason that you see the tireless work that's been done by starting with Northwest Detectives, and then by Homicide, by our partners through the FBI, through our forensics office, through any and everybody that has been a part of this process, because we wanted to bring some level of closure to this family. And so, again, we're going to wait until we have official confirmation on, as the medical examiner is going to do their process, and then we will bring that confirmation. But that's where we are right now. Again, I can't reiterate enough how much we appreciate, tips and information that have come in from the public. I still will urge the public that if you have any information, anything that you think is related to this, continue to give us that information via 215-686-TIPS. Still continue to give us that information because, again, we don't know if there are other individuals that have been a victim of this individual that we have in custody. And so I just want that to be clear, that please continue to provide that information if you have anything. But that's where we are at this point. I would also ask you to continue to pray for Ms. Scott's family.
What's the process of getting that official confirmation on whether it's her or not?
Well, at this point now, we're on the medical examiner's timeline. And so they will, the body will be recovered and transported to the medical examiner's office, and then they will go through their
The video messes up a little bit.
of any location.
Got bad service there or something.
Understand that it's not an easy process, and when you
Don't you hate that when that happens? They're around a wooded area there.
as well.
But anyway, guys, you get the drift of it. Let's scoot it up a little bit.
And so, Yeah, we did a lot
Kind
of
of
work,
move that up.
and again, I'm proud of the men and women in this organization that have, been doing the work to try to locate Miss Scott. And again, in our minds, we know this was a possible reality, and here we are,
Does the
unfortunately.
timeline match up?
There's a timeline of what?
In terms of when she went missing and how long it looks like that grave
As I
has been
said,
around?
I am not going to get into any of
Yeah,
the
don't get
investigative
into that.
process
Didn't he
because I
just
don't
tell
want to mess with
you?
this case, and I don't want anyone picking apart what we say and trying to create a defense. I want to
Yeah,
make sure that we
reporter.
do our jobs in the most diligent way. We give the district attorney's office an opportunity to do their job in the most diligent way, and that we get a prosecution on this incident here. And so I'm not going to get into any parts of the investigation, not out of disrespect, but just simply because I want to make sure that the person we have in custody and anybody else that was involved in this, that they are held accountable the way that they should be. And so that's why I'm not getting into the specifics of the case.
The specific tip that came in, could you get into more detail about what was specific about it? Is it in location and was it from a community member?
I won't get into the specifics. It was an anonymous tip that came in through our tip line, as we have been asking for. But it was very specific as to detailing us and directing us to a specific location in the wooded area, going back to your question, a very specific location that narrowed it down. Don't know who the tip is from, but grateful that the individual submitted the tip that brought us back here to this location this morning.
Just last question. Forget the cursing and the yelling at you guys. It just shows that there's passion behind this. What do you want to say about the passion of the community? They were out here, as you know, last night searching as well. Just your thoughts on just the community's involvement in this case.
Listen, I am not offended by the passion that some of the remarks that have been made as we were walking back. I'm not offended at all, because that's people's emotion, and this is an emotional situation, and so it's to be understood. However, I know what we have done, in the amount of hours that have been put into this process of trying to locate Ms. Scott. I know the work that has been done to bring the individual in the custody that we have in custody, and I know the work that these investigators will continue to do to ensure that we wrap this case up and that we do everything to hold the people accountable in the proper way. And so I'm not, listen, we can't be upset at that. I mean, that's emotion. If that was my family member or if I was someone I knew, I would have the same level of emotion. And listen, to be quite frank about it, the reason I go through the steps of what we have done is because not every community member, they don't know that we shut down the police academy to bring 300 recruits up here to go searching through an area. They don't know that. They don't know that we had teams of dogs from New Jersey State Police come into Philadelphia to
Yeah, but
help
the
us
thing is, she
in
didn't
the search
find the
process. They
body.
don't know that. And so
You
it's
had
my
an
job to
anonymous
make
tip
sure
last
that
night.
I express that, so they know that this police department, we took this case serious. We take every case serious, but the work that's been done to again bring this to some conclusion. Is this the conclusion that we wanted? Absolutely not. But at this point now, we have to do everything in our power to ensure that we bring justice for this family, and some level of closure. And so to answer that, no, it's understandable. Listen, that passion you need, because that's also the passion that helps you drive in the tips. That's the passion that gets you to have the support from the community, and getting the information that we got. And so it's understandable.
Could we hear from the ADA as well?
Absolutely.
Once and if it is confirmed that this is Kada, what does this mean for King?
It means that we do our job. It means that we take everything that we know, we take everything that we found out today, we let the MEs do what they do, and then everything will come to us and we'll make the determination of whether we add additional charges.
And what would those additional charges be?
Once we hear from the ME, I'll have a better answer on that. Obviously, we're like you said, we're going in order. Right now, we're on to the ME. They're going to do their investigation. As soon as we hear from them, it'll guide us in what we do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
One last question. So 10 a.m. you guys arrived here. At what time did you guys make the discovery of the remains? Is there an estimate?
They were in here.
Okay. Later in that, yeah, earlier. Because when I say they were here, they were looking for, evidence and other things that would drive us directly.
This was the press conference that they did yesterday about this suspect and his prior kidnapping case.
We have called this press availability in order to address any questions the media may have or anything else that we can do to support the ongoing investigation of the kidnapping of Kada Scott, the efforts to safely locate her, the efforts to further this investigation in this particular case. I just want to start by saying October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Our prosecutors, victim advocates, and law enforcement staff are deeply concerned about every victim and survivor of crime, and those who are victims of domestic violence are extremely important to us. And we will be giving a few more details about the investigation and prosecution of defendant Keon King. Most of the details of the case you already know. You're aware of them. But I want to make sure that we are keeping the public updated, and I want to make sure that people understand that the FBI, the Philadelphia Police Department, the DA's office, other law enforcement partners are working 24/7 on this case, are doing everything we can with the remarkable, unusual, extraordinary support and help coming from the public to address the situation we all face. I think part of what is really, perhaps what has animated so much community help, such an unprecedented effort that we are seeing by the community to get us information, to get the police information, anonymous tips, tips about cars, tips about evidence locations, things of that sort. We even have some information that additional victims of this defendant from incidents that never resulted in an arrest are starting to come forward. I think part of what is happening here, and it's good news, is that young people are seeing themselves in Kada. Older people see their kids, and they would like to know that everyone is doing everything they can, no matter how perfectly or imperfectly, but they're doing everything they can to try to deal with this horrific situation. I am here to say to the public that I am fully committed to there being justice in this case, to every single thing that can be done for Kada being done now. I'm not alone in that. I can tell you that the mayor has gone to somewhat extraordinary and very impressive lengths to try to address the needs of this family, to make sure that this investigation goes as smoothly as possible. Police Commissioner, I know, feels the same way. He and I have been on the phone a couple times speaking directly about certain aspects of this case over the past several days. I can't tell you exactly what that was about because, as I said, the investigation is ongoing, but it was about stuff that mattered. It was about stuff that was important, and we were very much of the same mind about how to address that issue. If there's anything that I hope to gain by this press conference, it is frankly part of what was gained by the last one, the one that was done by PPD middle of last week. And that is to get more help. It is to have more people come forward. It is to get more information. We have reason to believe that will happen because it's already happened. We have reason to believe that will happen because of the deep interest people have in Kada Scott and the deep interest they have in her safety and getting justice for what has occurred here. For anyone who has additional information, please reach out to the Philadelphia Police Department at 215-686-TIPS, 215-686-TIPS, or please contact us at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, 215-686-8000. I'd like to acknowledge now some of the good people who are here. We have with us State Representative Andre Carroll of the 201st Legislative District. Representative Carroll has been deeply interested in criminal justice, including criminal justice for young people for many years, has worked closely with our office at times, and as it happens, knew Kada Scott, in ways that he can certainly explain. Representative Carroll will be speaking. We have first ADA Robert Listenby here. We have ADA Ashley Tezlowski, who is in the DAO's Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit and is taking the lead on a lot of the efforts right now with the assistance of others in this office. ADA Bob Wainwright, who is the chief of the DAO's Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit, is here. ADA Bill Fritzy, chief of the DAO's Gun Violence Task Force, which also is responsible for some of the most important technological forensics that we do, and they will continue to be very important in this investigation, is here. We have Mariel Dela Cruz, director of DAO's Victim Services Unit, Donna Wood, director of the DAO's Relocation Unit, here. I do want to take a moment here to thank Ashley for her deep dive into this case. This is not something she had early on. This is something that came to her desk more recently. But I can tell you, she ain't sleeping. She's on the phone with me all the time, at every hour, as she should be, because there's not an hour that should pass without additional effort on this case. She has consistently shown her professionalism, her integrity in dealing with this case, and I am delighted that she will be taking point on this with a whole team from this office. All right. I do want to talk about a couple things that I don't think have been heavily covered or considered about this case yet, or if they haven't, maybe they haven't been fully reported, but I want to share this with you because it may be of help to you in the media. First of all, I want you to understand that when this case began, it was a, I'm sorry. When this case began, well, let me rephrase that. There's been some discussion about a prior case involving defendant Keon King, involving a different victim, a case that ended at the preliminary hearing. And there has been discussion about some of the events that occurred there. There is no doubt that there's a list of people in this office, outside of this office, and no, it doesn't matter who they are, but there's a list of people who made a lot of good decisions and a couple decisions that could have been made better, that could have been better, right? There's certainly that has been discussed. But we also can't skip over some of the systemic issues here that are not small. This is a case in which, in the prior matter, we requested $1 million bail, $1 million minus $1 bail, and we did not get it. We don't set bail, judges do. The bail was set at $200,000. Why? Well, probably because the commissioner who set the bail probably imagined that was enough to hold Keon King in custody. It wasn't. Keon King had access to a lot of money. And so he paid $20,000 bail almost immediately and was out of custody as a consequence of that, right? This is the problem with cash bail. This is what we've been talking about for a long time. It's not just whether or not he's in custody immediately. It's also what is the situation of a victim who has to go to court, a victim of domestic violence who has to go to court, knowing that the defendant will walk out the same door she came in. What is the situation? How likely is that victim to come to court if that victim knows that that victim is dealing with a profoundly dangerous, profoundly violent person? And we all know the answer. That victim is more likely to walk in the door of the courthouse and testify if that victim knows that the defendant can't walk out right behind her if he's locked up. Well, he wasn't locked up here. And so sadly what happened was there were two court dates, at the first of which the judge announced that it must be tried next time, and the victim did not arrive on both of those occasions. An eyewitness did not arrive on both of those occasions. But it's not, but it is part of the story. And it is a part of the story that would be remedied if we got away from this frankly nutty notion that bail is a good way to deal with these situations. Someone profoundly dangerous should be held. I don't care if they've got a lot of money. Someone who's not dangerous at all shouldn't be held. I don't care if they're poor. That should have nothing to do with this. Money should be divorced from determining who stays in custody, as has been done in the District of Columbia and many other states. It is a successful system. Now, without pointing a finger at any individual, I am pointing a finger at the cash bail system, because its role in this is frankly very problematic. I also want you to know that there has been, and there continues to be, extensive victim support and outreach to the victim in the first case. That's just a fact. And we will continue to do that. Some of it I cannot even speak about, because it would be inappropriate for me to talk about some of the measures that this office has engaged in for her protection. And not yesterday, a long time ago, okay? I don't want anyone to believe or to think that our victim services people and others who do specialized work in that field don't care, because they care deeply. They've done a lot. They've done things that, just like the investigation, it would be improper for me to talk about. But perhaps we can talk about it when this case is concluded or at a later time. We can't necessarily do that. Finally, I just want to say this before we hear from Representative Carroll and then move to Q&A. We are encouraging, we are asking other victims of this defendant, Keon King, the gentleman to your left, my right, we are encouraging you to come forward. We have information to indicate that there may have been other victims. We are asking you to come forward, contact our office, contact the Philadelphia Police Department. Some portion of this has already happened after the last press conference. We are asking you to protect others by coming forward, and we are telling you that all the resources of this city will be at your disposal to make sure that you are safe in this situation. Keon King is in jail now. He's in jail on, what is it, $2.5 million bail? A sum of money he's not able to come up with, despite the fact that he has access to money. You do not have to worry about his coming out of the courthouse door right behind you, because he's not coming out of that courthouse door right behind you. And if I have my way, he's not going to be coming out of a prison door either. That's how serious this gets. So I'm asking you, please come forward. All Philadelphians, please come forward. Let us know any information you have, whether it's information about a car, whether it's information about a phone, whether it's information about a piece of evidence, information about another victim, something that you saw in social media. Even if you don't know that it's accurate or true, but you know you heard it or saw it, we're asking you to come forward. It is my pleasure at this time, before we get to question and answer format, it's my pleasure to call Representative Andre Carroll, who I know has some interesting and important remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank the DA's office. I want to thank the FBI. Thank the homicide detectives who's assisted with this case so far. I also want to censor my remarks and concerns, thoughts, and prayers for the family. I recognize that we're talking about a 23-year-old young black woman. I've had opportunity as a criminal justice advocate prior to being elected to State House to work with young folks who have been tried in the city, and I've had opportunity also to get to meet the victims' families. And walking in the courtrooms, there's a divide of both. But what I recognize is that, you know, I've had an opportunity to build relationships across this aisle, and I recognize in this moment that there is a family right now that is praying for the safe return of this young lady. I've worked with colleagues in the House, in particular Gina Curry, who introduced legislation around the Ebony Alert. Far too often in this country, when it comes to young black girls and women, we do not see this kind of outpour. In this case right now, we recognize that everyone in this city, from the community to law enforcement to elected officials, are committed to the return of Kada Scott. I want to thank you, Philadelphia, for everything that you've done so far at this point on behalf of the family, but I also want to continue to encourage you guys, if you see something, if you know something, say something. The DA's office, our judicial system, the criminal justice system, they can only do what they have access to as far as information. Hope cannot be relinquished yet. We can get Kada home. I have had opportunity to meet Kada over the summer when Kada was running for Miss Philadelphia. Very timid, beautiful young lady. I am a loss for words as to how do we get to this point. It's not too late, guys. This family I've had the opportunity to talk to, they want their daughter, their sister, their cousin, their neighbor home. I'll close with this. Miss Kada Scott ran to be Miss Philadelphia. We're counting on Philadelphia in this moment right now, and I hope return her back home to her family. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rep. Carroll. One final comment before we go to Q&A. The sad truth is that the story of Kada is not just about Kada. It's about a lot of other women. It's about a lot of other women who don't report what has happened to them out of fear or because of the unique dynamics of domestic violence or for some other reason. It's about a lot of other women who do report, and then for a wide variety of reasons, including fear, but not just fear, don't go to court. Please report. Please come to court. Please let us try to do our very best with your case to protect you. Please. You are not just protecting yourself from things that can get a whole lot worse than you imagine, but you are protecting every other woman in Philadelphia. And you're doing it at a time when, sadly, the national climate is not fair to women. So I am saying to every woman out there, every girl out there, every other person who may have been a victim of domestic violence of any sort, please let the Philadelphia Police Department, the FBI, the Philadelphia DA's office, please let all of us, and the mayor, please let all of us support you by coming forward. We will do justice. We will make sure that the accountability fits the act, and we will make sure, as best we possibly can, that there is the right outcome. All right. With that, we will move to Q&A. Channel 3 CBS, Joe Holden.
Mr. Krasner, thanks. So if bail in the February, January incident, when it came before the courts in April, was not sufficient, your office could have moved for bail modification, correct?
You have the option of trying to do what is often a midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning telephonic appeal to a municipal court judge. The unfortunate reality of this is that some, but not all of these judges don't want you calling them in the middle of the night. And if you do, they lower the bail. They don't raise it. They don't leave it. They lower it. So it is always a complex strategic decision.
Why is that? Why would they lower the bail? Because of a phone call?
Because they don't want to be awakened in the middle of the night, because they don't want appeals. Now, there are a lot of great MC judges, a lot of great CP judges as well. These appeals go to municipal court judges. So I don't want you to think in any way I'm saying that's what all of them do. But we know that it's done, and we know that it's done way too often, and therefore you have to make strategic decisions about who that judge is, what hour of the day it is, whether there's any realistic possibility of increasing the bail. And we are still locked into a cash bail system in which some things that were done in 1978 seem to make sense to some of those judges now. So it's always a delicate balance, because the last thing you want, you know, who knows exactly how much money Keon King has when he first gets arrested. The last thing you want to do is to appeal it and then drive the bail number down so he's able to get out when you were asking for 5 times what it ultimately turned out to be.
What's the access to cash? Can you elaborate on how you finance it?
That is an aspect of this investigation that I cannot really get into right now, but I can tell you there is reason to think that he had access to cash. I'm going to go in order, and if I miss you, please remind me, okay? All right, let me see. Becca Hendrickson, 6ABC.
Yeah, Mr. President, what does bail have to do with your office's decision to not
So the actual history of this case, as I understand it, and, you know, please understand, we've been trying to dig into this to make sure we are accurate. If anything I say turns out to be inaccurate, we're going to correct it, okay? But my understanding of what happened with this case is that it involved an eyewitness, it involved a complainant, there was some other video evidence that was available, and at the first listing, eyewitness was subpoenaed, the complainant was subpoenaed. At the second listing, once again, there were subpoenas. We believe that at least 3 of those 4 subpoenas, all of which went to the addresses that were identified, we believe at least 3 of those 4 got to their destination. There were multiple phone calls that were made, phone calls to the victim in those earlier cases, and they were not just made by one person. It was made not only by the prosecutors handling the case on both dates, but also made by people in victim services. Those calls resulted in voicemails being left that were detailed. They were not returned at that time. The eyewitness did return a phone call. The eyewitness expressed that she was reluctant to come to court. I think that's a fair statement. Efforts were made to get the eyewitness to encourage the complainant to come to court. And ultimately, what occurred is the eyewitness did not show up for the first listing, neither did the complainant. The eyewitness did not show up for the second listing after a judge had marked it must be tried. Neither did the complainant. We could have done better in that a really sophisticated approach to the case would have been to try to put it all on with video evidence. That is not usually an easy thing to do. I would say with 20/20 hindsight, it's something that could have been done, and I own that. I mean, ultimately, the buck stops here. It's not my job to throw other people under the bus. If there's a decision that is poor, and I believe that that was an incorrect decision, then we have to own it, and we have to try to do better moving forward in order to change that. But what I am saying about the bail is that it could have made all the difference in the world at the first listing for that eyewitness. If this man was locked up, she might have showed. It could have made all the difference in the world at the first listing if this man was locked up. The complainant might have showed, and the same is true for both of them at the second listing. Think about it. This is obviously someone who at this point we understand. But the eyewitness and the defendant knew him, okay? We know what he's capable of now. They knew at some level what he was capable of then. And the reason they had to worry that he was going to come out of the same door they went in the courthouse right after they testified against him is because he was on bail. So there is a direct link between the effect of bail and the appearance of witnesses. And that's the point I'm trying to make.
Is there a number of times that someone has to be subpoenaed and replied to it before that decision is made to drop the case? Just trying to understand.
So what actually happened in this case, and I appreciate you trying to understand, so if I can be of help, that's what I want to do. What actually happened is a judge of the municipal court at the first listing marked it must be tried, okay? That is an order, and it's an order that applies to the next judge that says you must try this case on this date. If you're not ready, if you don't put it up, it gets thrown out. That's what that order means. Under Pennsylvania law, if a judge at the same level, and it was a municipal court judge at the first listing, it was a municipal court judge at the second listing, if a judge at the same level makes that decision, under the law, it's not even supposed to be up to the second judge, unless there's some big change of situation. This judge is supposed to follow that judge. So from the moment that the first judge said this must be tried next time, for whatever reason, and I'm not going to speculate, I don't know why the judge said that, that was essentially a predetermined outcome if the case was not put up. The process of dismissal, withdrawal, whatever, is effectively the same thing. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to revive a case later if you drop the case rather than having a judge dismiss it, just for procedural reasons. But that's essentially how that worked. All right, let me see. Is it Shaira Arias? Shaira, my apologies.
Thank you
Squad's investigation, and this is because a lot of people have been asking. The charges have been filed for kidnapping. What new details can you give us about what exactly happened on October 4th, besides the fact that they were possibly last seen together, that folks could maybe get a hint, an idea of what exactly happened on October 4th, that you would be able to move forward with those charges of kidnapping? What happened that evening?
All right, if you'll just allow me 1 second to speak with Ashley. Sure.
So in terms of the investigation as itself, unfortunately, we don't have any new information since the last time I spoke with you all. At this point, it is still very much an active investigation. So my answer is going to be similar to what I've already said, which is the information that we know is that he was the last person with her. He was traveling with her when her phone goes offline. We have every reason to believe at this point she did not go willingly. She was about 20 or 30 minutes into her shift. From all of the witnesses, her family that we've spoken to, this is unusual behavior for her. And as we now know, several of her items have now been found in locations that don't make much sense. So at this point, we have every reason to believe she did not go willingly. And at this point, we're 2 weeks later and we still don't have her. I think we have more than enough at this level to charge him with the charges that he's been charged with, which is kidnapping, criminal use of communication facility, recklessly endangering her, and all the charges that we approved.
Thank you, Ashley. And my last question was, how many new victims have come forward since?
So at this point, that's still very much in flux. I know the police department, I know our victim witness team are all fielding those calls, and so I'm sure at some point we'll have more information on that, but at this point, I wouldn't want to speculate in terms of how many there are, but there are people coming forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also just supplement that without getting more detailed than I should. Supplement that by saying, sometimes when we get information or the police get information, it's coming about, let's just say, a car, right? Information about a car. Well, the significance of that information may be a lot more than what even the person providing it believes. If you get information about a car, if that takes you to a car, if that allows you to do DNA on that car, if that allows you to do geolocation on a navigation system in that car, if that allows you to look for other things, that may branch off in multiple directions and provide layers and layers and layers of important information. And as you all know, we are, and by we, I mean the Philadelphia Police Department, the FBI, other law enforcement partners are actively searching for her now, okay? So any tip, any information that's coming in, even if it's about a prior incident in which Keon King was involved, even if it's just about how he always does the same stuff, that may fill a gap in this investigation that's absolutely crucial to every effort to bring her home safely and to get the family justice.
Is he cooperating at all with?
I cannot comment on that at this time. Jennifer Lee, Channel 29 Fox.
Thank you so much for taking questions. I'm wondering, the prior kidnapping case, the victim, is she now working with your office? Has she come forward since this recent arrest?
What I can tell you is that there has been significant contact with her, including meeting in person with members of the DA's office, significant contact with her family. I'm sure you can understand there are reasons why it would be inappropriate for me to say exactly where or exactly when. But yes, there has been significant contact with her. There have been discussions with her and her family. We have worked in the past and even now to make sure that she is in the safest position possible, that her needs are met in terms of what it means to bring a case like the one that she brought.
And did she tell you the reason why she didn't show up in the prior court dates? Is there a reason why a lot of these TV cases don't move forward in court that you're suggesting?
I'm not going to comment on that at this time. First of all, because I don't want to speak for her. I don't think that's fair to her. But also because I'm giving you the best information that I have. I certainly can't speak for the mental state of another person. And we are also making every effort to check our facts and make sure that our facts are strictly correct. So I'm going to respectfully decline to speak for her on that point.
The social media video that has been widely shared now, is that from
Well, let me just say this.
Is that the video evidence?
Now, I'm not sure exactly which video you're talking about. I'm aware of what you might be talking about, but there's a little more social media out there, perhaps, than some people may realize, so I don't want to speak on that point. All right, let me see. Ellie Rushing, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Can you give a little bit of clarity on when the warrant was issued for his arrest in the January incident? Because, so if the first case was dismissed in February, then she would have just been kidnapped and reported that a month earlier, right? Why not go to the judge and say, we just had another incident, this is evolving and we're still trying to get it.
All right, first of all, I just want to make sure I understand the question, if you'll just allow me a moment.
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, it's that these kind of two cases were intertwined with each other, yes?
And they were happening very quickly.
They were happening simultaneously. I mean, I think the answers we gave are kind of the answers that we're going to continue to give, which is, just because one case happens doesn't change kind of, again, I don't want to speak for her mental state, but this is a situation where he was on bail for everything. And obviously, I think that kind of answers a question in and of itself, which is he had an active case going on with her when the second case happened. I think that kind of answers it in and of itself, which is that he was out on bail on that first case and still committed this next one. I think that kind of answers it, right, in terms of what perhaps her mental state could be, or perhaps what anyone's mental state could be, where he has an open case and that's not even stopping him. And the allegations in that second case and in the first involve threats to her life. It's not just strangulation, it's not just kidnapping, it is legitimate threats to her life. And if he's doing this while on bail for one case, what is he going to do when he's on bail for a second?
I think what I was trying to distinguish is he's not arrested for the kidnapping case until April. I think.
Right.
And so when the charges in the first case were withdrawn in February, was there an active warrant for his arrest?
I don't have the exact date the second warrant was issued. I'm sure we can get that, but I don't have it on me.
All right, Sherry Stone, Philadelphia Tribune.
I'm wondering if the gold car that was found belonged to Keon King, and if you're allowed to give any details, like what happened as a result of the search, did you find anything that can be shared?
So obviously, when we did the initial press conference at the police headquarters, we had put that car out as a car of interest. Obviously, at that time, we indicated we believed he had been operating that vehicle. Perhaps she had been in it throughout that evening. We recovered that car. That car is still being investigated. Obviously, at this point, we haven't released anything in terms of that search, but it is being searched pursuant to a search warrant. But we do have significant evidence tying him to that car. We did before, and then we did upon recovery of that car. In terms of where it was, video evidence surrounding it, we can connect him to that car again.
Dan Horan, Philly FPV.
Yes, thank you. Just want to ask you about your victim services unit. It seems like there's a lot of incidents where you spoke on people are afraid to show up to court. Is there any part of your team that meets with these victims or speaks to them before the court case to meet them at the court and to move with them through the process and then out afterwards to make sure they get through their car and it goes smooth?
So I can give you the short answer, but I think it makes more sense to let Mariel Dela Cruz, who is the chief of our Victim Witness Services unit, give you the longer, more detailed answer.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So there are several things that happen when it comes to getting victims and survivors to court safely. So in some instances, we do have assigned detectives who are working in our office. So DAD, so detectives that are belonging to the district attorney's office, do a transport to and from court. But additionally, we also have our van services. So we do have a van that operates and picks up victims and survivors and also drops them off. Our protocol is that victims are ushered to our victim services waiting room, which I'm not going to give the location of that waiting room, in both the family courthouse and the criminal justice center as well. So we do have protocols in place to make sure that victims are, one, safe in the courthouse and also safe traveling to and from the courthouse from their homes.
Do you know if this was an option given to her and if she didn't take it and if why?
This is usually a protocol option for all of our victims and witnesses that are assigned to our unit. So after a case is assigned, depending on the unit that's assigned to, our victim witness coordinators go through that protocol with every single victim and every single survivor. And this is an option that is presented to them during our call, but also during our correspondence letters and things that we send to our survivors and victims as well. Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia neighborhoods. That would be Lauren Morris, Colt Gunn, and Kevin Gruen, who I am passing. Okay, very good. Now, I know that some of you came with questions on other matters. I don't want to interfere with this press conference by inviting those questions now, but what we'll do is shut it down here, and for those of you who have individual questions about other cases or other issues, please approach us. We'll remain here, and we will speak to you individually about that. One more on this? Yes.
If Mr. King has very sensitive information about the whereabouts of Ms. Scott, no, he has rights. But is your office leveraging anything to try to get that information from him?
What I can tell you is that every single effort that can be made to help Kada and her family.
So that's all the updates on that. And probably by tomorrow, there probably will be more updates, especially if they've confirmed, identified the remains of being the missing young lady. So thanks for stopping by. And don't forget to go watch my shorts on Crime Wine Murphy and his partner in crime, Princess shorts. I do shorts on my little fur babies. Thanks for stopping by.